All right, we are live September the 9th already, 2025. A bit of a follow-up from yesterday. We were talking about the subway train neck stabbing, the murder that has been talked about and Trump talked about. And one of my points yesterday is that it had all the hallmarks of a psyop in terms of the reaction, but in the execution of it, nothing gave it away as fake. And our general rule here is if it doesn't set off any red flags as being extraordinary, you wouldn't have to consider it fake until proven real. It wouldn't meet the bar. There's criteria for whether or not something is considered preemptively to be a hoax. So in this case, the only hoaxy, psyopic thing about it was its political utility. How the woke right propagandists were able to fit it so neatly into their existing narrative. But given the seeming unfakeability of it and the believability of it, I wasn't going to say, oh, it's just fake. I need more information. And nothing suggested fake except for the way that it was useful to the psyop entertainment complex. Well, that was yesterday. And today, I'm going through the footage, I'm looking at it, and some new footage came out. They just posted it in the Gilded. And now we have some footage of what happened immediately after the stabbing, or so-called stabbing. Because now the victim appears to look up, covers her mouth, acts like she's scared, but there's no indication that she was stabbed to death. I would not have arrived at that conclusion from looking at the video. The way they paused the footage with the knife held up, it looks super dramatic, but after watching the rest of it, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm like, well, okay, fake until proven real. The burden of proof has shifted back. We did our due diligence. We're like, okay, there's a good chance that this is a real one that's completely useful, but now looking at the footage, I'm like, okay, there's actually a pretty good chance that this one's not even real. And I'm not saying AI, but I mean, look, there's more to it. Like, there's a lot to it. So I have watched Miles, I read Miles Mathis. Miles Mathis did a piece on it, and he just called it fake. And I'm like, that's not really skeptical. He just said it's fake because. But I'm like, what are you pointing at? When you're saying that's not real, we need evidence. No low info claims. No low info disbelief. But what they did, yeah, Mazel, that's the tactic. They held off on releasing the video. They got our reactions. And now that it came out, it doesn't matter. Everyone's already running with the ball. So again, the PSYOP entertainment complex has crossed the line to where their visuals, I think, maybe they're improving, or maybe they're smarter, but this was good. This was good. Now, what it didn't do is it didn't activate me into a woke right person. It didn't work on me. It didn't convince me. I'm just watching this thing unfold and asking, is this real, being taken advantage of, or is it completely fake? And the more you look into it, you're like, okay, she's from Ukraine. She's got a modeling portfolio, but she's like working at a pizza restaurant in North Carolina now. She has the Black Lives Matter poster, which makes it ironic to the people on the right. And I pointed out a few other things too, about how the guy had been supposedly arrested 14 times. And the number 14 is a fascinating addition to this. Okay, one more thing. Miles Mathis suggested that the guy couldn't have been in and out of jail because his dreads were so long. So I thought, okay, that's pretty good. But is that enough reason to call it fake? So I looked into it. It turns out it depends on where you are, what jurisdiction, as to whether or not they will let you grow your hair out. So you can't just say because he has dreads, he wasn't in jail and it was all fake. So my point here is I like Miles Mathis's work, but I don't follow, he doesn't have the same methodology that we do. Not even close. So calling things fake doesn't mean the same thing if you're a world stager. Mathis is MSM+. He's not a pure auto hoaxer. So when he says fake, his claims don't have the weight that ours do. And I don't think that there was enough information to call it fake. Even now, with what just came out, now we have something. But even then, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she didn't notice that her carotid was severed and her jugular was gushing because there was no blood and no pain by the pictures. Copaesthetics, 16 months in the Blue Wrench Lodge. Awesome. I was actually sitting in my car. I'm actually working on some art cards. This is one of the Unicursal Penguins. Blue Wrench edition. So that's good news, right? But look at the effects, because this has been compared to Austin Metcalf, to Psycho Stu, getting beat by Raja Jackson, who's not been to jail yet. All those people who swore that the thing was real. Explain to me why Raja Jackson has not been arrested for supposedly punching somebody 23 times in the face, caving in the skull, teeth flying everywhere, blood spraying. I'm sorry, but if that was a murder attempt, why hasn't he been put in jail? Jorge Glockington hasn't heard about it. Yeah, I was asking some friends, hey, have you heard about the subway murder? And it hasn't really penetrated that far. But there's been zero news coverage compared to when the races are reversed. I mean, it's 100% a psyop. Real or fake as far as the death, it's been attached to the psyops anyway. Braveheart said, could it be priming people to witness war theater in Chicago? Yes, seems like they're setting the stage. Esteban says, Stu's mouth is closed because they're using theater magic to mimic missing teeth. Show me the missing teeth. Because they don't exist. His grill is fine. Yeah, his grill is either fine, or he already lost a bunch of teeth and just took out his denture. That's my thinking. And that beard was the main thing that moved when the fists were supposedly connecting. Yeah, I saw his goofy half smile. I was like, did he get vaxxed? No, the guy was not, Psycho Stu was not really unconscious. That's the trick. If you want to see through the trick and you want to be objective for a moment here, entertain the possibility that you were wrong. Look into the likelihood of somebody being knocked unconscious for like 12 hours from a body slam on a wrestling canvas. You won't find anything. But if he's not unconscious, then the psyop makes perfect sense. He's moving his head back and forth as the other guy is pinwheeling his arms around like a madman. So yeah, that's the main update. I don't know how long this is going to stay up because the sun's out, my phone overheats. But this North Carolina subway train stabbing happened on, okay, this adds to it. When I first saw it, you know, I said, look at the date, August 22nd. So you got this guy in a red hoodie sneaking up on a blonde girl, raising a knife. Terrifying stuff, but we have been talking about this for some time, the various ways that sometimes the psyops have these pagan occult undertones. And I said, you know, that's the day we enter Virgo. Virgo Persephone being kidnapped by Hades, by Pluto, taken into the underworld. That's a reoccurring theme that we've seen since Gabby Petito, even Princess Diana. But we've seen this reoccurring theme of the spring maiden, Virgo representative, being taken into the underworld just as we hit the fall. As we go into the fall, we have our Persephone. And this Persephone-Hades storyline is actually written into so many movies. You know, Alice in Wonderland, Neo in the Matrix, Wizard of Oz, Westworld, The Matrix, The Truman Show. It's a reoccurring theme of the mind control victim being taken into the underworld. So when I see this what appears to be one of the mystery school's main myths being performed routinely, that's another red flag for me. So when I saw the picture and the date, I thought, this is fascinating. So that immediately made me skeptical, because I thought either it's just a coincidence or it's staged. But you can't just say it's staged based on the occult stuff. I mean, maybe you can, but it won't make sense to the people who aren't versed in that. But yes, the killing happened on the day of Virgo. It just took them some time to release the video to us. Braveheart said, I noticed tons of people on Blue Sky getting vaxxed despite Trump and RFK. RFK had his grandchildren swimming in sewage. He plays with bloated bear carcasses. He walks barefoot on airplanes. Like, that guy has some kind of mutant immune system. Copacetic says, having lived in Vegas for a decade, I can tell you occurrences like stabbing on public buses happen. Maybe not stabbings, but to know that when you get on, you need to be on alert. Yeah, and these things are so frequent that when I hear about it, it didn't set off a red flag as likely fake. Like, I know here in town, if you want to die, just go to a gas station after sunset. I had a friend, a family member who worked at who was called to jury duty, and was like, do not go to gas stations at night unless you want to be a target. You're prey. Esteban says, Jake the awake misses the detail, because, yeah, well, that's right. He said that's because he had experience in fighting and it felt viscerally real. It felt real. Well, it's like looking real. This is the point, though. Looking real is not evidence. Again, I would ask Jake the awake hole to consider my magic show analogy. Just because you're at a magic show and you don't know how the trick works doesn't mean you assume it's real magic. You have to recognize you're at a show. And at what point do mainstream mediated events not fit the bigger picture? Like, when are these things that are nationally blasted out there not part of the show? And the way that this particular event is being handled, like, I'm seeing the image of her juxtaposed with Shiloh Hendricks, Austin Metcalf, and they're trying to create this White Lives Matter narrative. A lot of resentment's being stoked. All the right-wing talking heads are saying it's race, it's race, it's race. Like, what are you talking about? I was looking at Gustave Le Bon's book on the madness of crowds and crowd psychology and mob violence. And it's important to remember that that study, that book, was about mainly, I think, Europeans. It wasn't... So, like, the behaviors, you know, murder, criminality, etc. And I'm not a lib saying, oh, it's all just socioeconomic factors, but there's a correlation there. And it's you know, causation is not correlation. And if you're going to go with the race thing, it doesn't actually pan out. And what did he say, though? He did say, I got the white girl a couple of times. So it's like, okay, well, if this was a psyop, that was a planted line. What else was there? He had the B tattoo on his chest. Miles Mathis suggested that had some significance, and maybe. I mean, maybe she really did die. Maybe it's real. I mean, I'm not closed to new evidence, but if you haven't seen the rest of the footage, then you're not in a position to judge. You can't judge it by what you've seen so far. Like, as of last night, I was like, this is real, unless something else changes. And having seen the rest of the footage, no. Her reaction, and it didn't match. Her reaction was maybe like as if someone had dumped theatrical blood on her head. You know, or if someone spilled their drink on you. That was her reaction. Not, you just stabbed me in the neck multiple times. There's no screaming for help, no gurgling. And now this explains why, yeah, thanks, Esteban. No panic by anyone in the video. Yeah, so if you go to the Gilded, you'll see the rest of the video. Nobody, well, actually, okay, as soon as she looks up and has her hand on her face, then someone from behind walks up to the guy, and there's some activity in there. But the guy looked like he had some, I had to double check it. The guy behind the stabber had something on him, like some kind of a lanyard, I think. I don't know. It's starting to look super psyopy to me. And now Trump brings it up. And now the Chicago thing. Kevin says, I wonder if it wasn't just AI. Well, looking at, okay, another thing too. She gets stabbed, and then like 8 hours later, we've got like 15 model photo shots of her, headshots of her. Yeah, now nobody moving in the bus, being in the bus, Cope says, they're probably in shock. That is sadly true. If you're getting attacked, most people are afraid. With good reason. If you want to die, interrupt a fight. They'll take it out on you. Esteban says, I was in Carolina. A guy walked into a car and shot a guy 10 times easy. I was ducking and not looking to see what was going on. Yeah, people are, it's not that they're docile, but they're afraid, bullied, and maybe smart. You do not want to interrupt a guy with a knife. I mean, just takes one little nick. So my other question too then is then the blood that he had, that he was, because he was walking around dripping blood. Well, how did that get on him? Well, look at the video again. There was no point where the blood in her somehow squirted all over him. Didn't happen. So he's walking around dripping blood. So that's why yesterday I said, if I was faking this, I would have a theatrical blood pack in my sleeve and a plastic knife. And then I would squirt the blood on the, quote, victim while fake stabbing them. And he's walking around dripping blood. Where was the blood dripping from? So now I was with real until proven fake. Now I'm at fake until proven real. So that's the main update. I don't want to push it too far. The phone could easily overheat. But there's a lot going on, as usual. And I'm working on determining our exact schedule. We're going to try to return to a regular nightly live stream with open phones. And perhaps a week straight should give us an indication of where the channel's at as far as the live audience and where people are time zone wise. So I want to be in a place where it's like every night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I want it to be scheduled and routine and predictable enough that I can have commercials for it, that I can promote, you know, join us at 7 o'clock. So we're going to aim for a solid week of back-to-back stable live streams, follow-up discords, and after that we'll kind of see where to go from there. So I'm looking at getting into a new place before the end of the month. And I want to get into something stable before the next major psyop pops off. Because it seems like there's a lot building up right now. A lot of tension being built. Ever since Austin Metcalf, that stabbing in Sinners, there's been this buildup, and the Sinners movie